Have you ever imagined that even the wind and the bees, they could turn the messengers of God? Sounds crazy, right? But as it turned out, in Pittsburgh, it was almost like a movie script, with a touch of comedy, gospel, and just a hint of the mystery of God. You'll get to know you better in a little while, but I hope this story will bring you to fasten on the beginning of the end. And you know, I do wonder if the sky has its own way to give it as a sign. You've already been through this feeling that something strange is about to happen, as if the universe was conspiring in your favor or against you. As it is, this is a story that is filled with such emotion. Such questions seem silly, but in the end shake our faith and our understanding of what it all has a purpose. And the amazing thing about it is that, too often, people will only notice these signs until it is too late, or when it will come to you with a dose of humor, to the divine, as in this case. Have you ever wondered what happens when someone tries to steal the sacred place? Or rather, what goes on in the head of a person who decides to break into a church at night, wondering who is going to lead to an offer of, or an object of value? What she cannot imagine is that, many times, in the sky, it also has its own forms of punishment, and to show that there is no limit to that, no one should have to overcome. And that's what this story, a thief, an empty church, there was a silence, almost sacred, and all of a sudden, a shift that appears to the output of a comedy, but, in fact, is the real lesson of divine justice. You'll find out that at times, it seems like an invasion to get into a show in heaven, where its very nature, the wind, and even the bees to come into the picture to show that no one escapes from the look of the cross. Stay with me until the end, because what comes next is something that will challenge their understanding of what is real, what is spiritual, and the extent to which the divine justice could come to protect what is sacred. This story has everything in store for you: a surprise, a character that is arrogant, a force of nature, which he seems to have a life of its own, and an ending that will make you laugh, reflect and, perhaps, to review your own personal beliefs. So, get ready, because the next chapter of this story, it's more than just an invasion. It's a lesson in faith, humor, and justice that you are not going to want to miss out on. Now, in order to understand what is really behind all of this, you need to go to the next step. As they delve deeper into this narrative, it is clear that there is something beyond what our eyes can see at the first glance. It's as if every single detail of each reaction was loaded with meaning that only comes when we take the time to consider it. Maybe for the back of your confusion, as there is a hidden message and an invitation to look beyond the surface of things. And it is precisely at this point that we realize that our perception is often limited to what they can understand, and that's true understanding, patience, courage, and an open heart. Think about all of this. You can wake up to a sense of connection and a desire to share what we feel or perceive. After all, you are not alone in this journey of discovery. Every comment, every feeling, what you bring to the conversation, it helps to build the community that it seeks to understand what really matters to you. So, if something in this episode it made you stop for a minute, leave us a comment. The more he touched her heart, and I read it all with love, and your feelings can help someone else that is also looking for answers. Enjoy video. It's a way of showing that this message resonated inside of you, that it makes no sense in your life. And if you want to continue with a moment of reflection, and subscribe to the channel. This video is an opportunity to learn and grow together, to explore what is often hidden from the routine of your day-to-day. Because, deep down, that connects us is the desire to gain a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us, and always with respect and authenticity. Right now, for us to continue to deepen this topic, there's something even more important what you need to understand. I now want to go more in depth on this subject, because, in fact, all of the things that we think, feel, and live is like a landscape that is revealed bit by bit, almost like a piece of art that will be built over the course of your journey. And a lot of the time, this landscape is hidden under the layers of limiting beliefs, fears that are rooted in or to the expectations that have been imposed without notice. It's as if we're moving in a way that feels familiar, but at the core, and takes us to places that we don't know it completely, until one day, for a while, we stop to have a look around, and realize that all those things that seem so natural, in fact, it was in a building on the outside. This often distracts us from seeing who we really are, to gain access to that part of us that is pure, in essence, free from the constraints of the stories that we have learned to count on it as absolute truth. And this is where it comes in, is a reflection that many people shy away from for fear of facing the shadow, or the possibility that, for a time, lived and believed that it is something that they have not served anymore. Because when you start to look at the inside, this is the landscape that we have. We realize that every choice, every decision, in every sense, has a deep rooted that it is not always possible to identify at a glance. It's like opening a drawer full of old, it's full of memories, and emotions carefully guarded. but when they are exposed to come up with a mixture of nostalgia, grief, and hope. And, at the same time, it gives us a freedom that is huge, because it allows us to understand that everything that is in the cast can also be changed, adjusted, rewritten. The whole thing happens when we become aware of these invisible layers that we have, and we've decided to, up to, what we want you to know that for a fact. There aren't many shallow and superficial, but in a deeper sense, which makes us confront our own limitations, our hopes, our own truths. Because, deep down, that this is the only way to truly evolve and leave behind the things that binds us in creating space for what they really are, a being of light with infinite potential, capable of creating a new reality, from the moment in which we identify ourselves by the stories we were told and we started to write our own story. And, in the process, there is a fundamental question. How can we break down all of the things that prevents us from seeing the truth? How do we actually open our eyes to our lives, without fear, without judgment, with compassion and love? The answer is in the mood to listen to that inner voice, which is often hidden by the noise of the outside world, through the views of others, or by the weight of our own questions. You need to learn how to silence the noise, slow down, feel what it's really vibrant in all of us. Because when we do that, we realize that this whole journey of self-discovery that is not a difficult task, but it's an opportunity for us to reconnect with the things that we've always been, a flash of light, and, in fact, just waiting for you to let it shine. And it is precisely at this point that we understand that all change starts from the inside out. What is the greatest power we have is the power to choose how we see the world, how do we respond to our own emotions, and how we decide to live with each experience. Well aware of that, it is like a key that unlocks the door before it's shut, revealing the possibilities that were right there, hidden, waiting only for these feelings. Because, at the end of the day, our real journey is not to look for something out there, but to find out what is hidden inside of us, which, when revealed, has the potential to transform everything around us. And, in doing so, we are asked to drop their masks, and the limiting beliefs, the stories that are in the trap, and you take on the role of the authors of our own lives. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. Because, at the end of the day, our real journey is not to look for something out there, but to find out what is hidden inside of us, which, when revealed, has the potential to transform everything around us. And, in doing so, we are asked to drop their masks, and the limiting beliefs, the stories that are in the trap, and you take on the role of the authors of our own lives. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. The problem is that, too often, we get lost in the search for answers outside, with the belief that happiness, success, and peace is something that we can find, get, or achieve it. But, in essence, all this is already there, within us, hidden under the layers of doubt, fear, and limitations. It is as if there is a precious jewel buried in a vacant lot, and you can only find it when we dig deep, and with the courage and the will to face what is out there, many times, in raw form and culture. And it's not a journey into linear. It requires us to listen carefully. With a note of delicate, what emerges is that, in our souls, when we stop to listen to it. The truth is that, in the course of a lifetime, we accumulate the stories that have taught us to question who we are, and to bring happiness in the objects and results, and to the belief that the approval of others defines what we are. These stories, while often well-intentioned, they become invisible walls that prevent us from looking our very essence. And then, to break down these barriers, we have to have the courage that many times we do not recognize it as our own. It is a courage to be silent, that which manifests itself in the decision-making every day to look on the inside, allowing you to our deepest feelings come to the surface, without fear of what they may be. When we begin to explore in this universe is built, we saw all the things that we look outside. It's just a reflection of what we carry in ourselves from the inside out. Peace, for example, is not something that you find in the attainment of an achievement, but it's a feeling that comes from being aligned with our truth. To the right of it is a condition of the exterior, but a choice to break free from the bonds that we have created in our minds. And it challenges us to question everything we have been taught that is what we are in these roles you play. Or is it something much bigger, something that, for whatever reason, you forgot about yourself, and if distracted by the noises of the world? Every step on this journey of self-discovery is a chance to rewrite our narrative, to pick and choose which stories we want to carry into the heart, and what you can leave behind. It is like a delicate dance between what we are taught and what they really feel, and between the us and they said that it was true, and the thing that beats strong in all of us. And a lot of times, it is the most resistance came from within, the fear of being judged, of getting lost in an image that we have built with so much effort. But, in fact, that it is just a reminder that we are on the right path, for every transformation is based on the recognition that there is something that needs to be changed. To deepen our reflection, we realize that true freedom comes from a conscious choice to break free of these shackles within, to embrace who you really are, without the mask, without the mask, without the mask. And, in doing so, we allow that life to flow in a way that is more genuine. The more you take, the more it is true. It is an invitation to look beyond what your eyes can see beyond the surface, to the infinite universe that lies within us all. And with this discovery, we found a quiet strength that propels you to move forward with more clarity, more self-esteem, and a sense that, after all, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. I now want to go more in depth on this topic, this depth, which reveals to us that, at the bottom, it was a matter of awakening to our true essence, to remind you that you are a being of light, which, for some reason, they have forgotten their origin. And in this memory, this is a resumption of the connection is the one that actually becomes a journey in search of a way back to home, to the place inside you where it all makes sense, and where the peace is a constant presence, and authenticity is our highest treasure. And, in this way, it is clear that the change happens when we stop looking for the answers outside, and began to listen to the voice that was always there, whispering into our ears, reminding us of who we really are. It is as if, for many years, we had been walking around with a blindfold on, as he believes that they are out there. That is what it was missing, when, in fact, everything you need is inside of us, waiting to be discovered, revealed, and embrace it with courage and with love. Leaving this idea to consolidate them, we can see that the key to this transformation is in the mood to immerse yourself not only in our own history, and to accept every part of us, even those who we think that are bad or you don't want. Because, deep down, in these parts is also a part of our education, of our evolution. And, when you accept it, we take the first step to free our inner selves to stop being held hostage by the opinions of others, or the expectations that are imposed over the world. And, therefore, is our true journey begins to unfold, with all the beauty and the depth that it deserves. For this reason, each and every day, the choices we are given the opportunity to reaffirm that the connection with that which is real within ourselves, to build the bridge, to recognize that links us to our inner selves. And, in doing so, we realize that life turns out to be a most genuine expression of who we really are, to a dance, authenticity, and courage, in which each step is an act of self-love. Because, in the end, it's all the things that we look out there, it only makes sense when we reflect that the light that comes from within, the light that is never extinguished, even if the cobramo's up with our own questions. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. And this is where things start to change in a very subtle, almost invisible to those who do not yet understand, but which, in fact, it is a silent revolution that is happening in the very heart of our nature. When we allow ourselves to look within, and without fear or judgment, we can begin to unravel the layers of old that we have for so long a time, as if they were a witness to a history that doesn't belong to us anymore. That the weight of the expectations of the mask we used in order to please the world and everything in it will dissolve very slowly, like snow under the sun of the morning light. And, in the process, we realize that the real world is the achievement of something that is external to, but in its ability to be true to who you really are, even if that authenticity is to go against what society or even our own fears as they try to make us believe that it is wrong and dangerous. And then, at that moment, a great eye-opener is presented in a way that is clear and quiet. We are the creators of our own reality. Every decision, every thought, every feeling, what you eat, it's like a seed planted in the fertile soil of our soul. And there you have it. If we cultivate doubt, fear, or self-criticism, we have to plant the storms that are going to sprout up in the ways of the uncertainty, and give up. But, if we nurture that hope, compassion, towards ourselves and a genuine desire to develop, we are setting up a garden of possibilities is blooming with vibrant colors even on the days more gray. To our way of thinking, then, is the ground where it all happens. And this awareness is an important step for us to understand that we are not victims of what happens to us, but to the authors who allow it to happen in our lives. To the degree that this understanding deepens, we begin to see our story with different eyes. No, more like a screenplay for M, but like a story that you can rewrite at any time and with conscious choices. And this is the freedom of a fresh start, is one of the greatest gifts we can receive. There is no failure is final, not the error that it can't be turned into a learning process. In the morning, you have the opportunity to choose who they want to be, to delete all lines that do not serve us the most, and write the new chapters, most in line with the core of the most pure. And, in doing so, we realize that our journey is not so much a search for something that's out there, but it's a journey of discovery of who we really are when we let go of the lies and all of the limitations that have been imposed upon. This finding, however, that requires courage. Courage in the face of the truths that will sometimes prefer to hide in, to let go of the identities that imprison it, to accept that you can be vulnerable and still going strong. Because you are, in fact, that strength comes from within, and a deep connection to what is most real to us. And that connection is what gives us the power to change your reality and create a new perspective that can't be defined by what is more than skin deep, but that you dive into the essence of who we are, in fact. It is like a flood that you find in your way, even when obstacles arise, because you know your source, and he knows that his strength comes from his own authenticity. To understand this, we understand that the biggest challenge is not outside, but within us. It is our resistance to change, fear of losing control, the desire for security. You will often hold to the old standard. But, at the same time, it's that strength that will tell you how much we are ready to move ahead. Every obstacle, every tear, every doubt becomes an opportunity for us to go further in this process of self-discovery. And, in doing so, we begin to understand that true transformation does not change the surface, but it is a personal reconstruction of who we are. Our essence is pure and free from the illusions and limitations. I now want to go more in depth on this subject, because, once you understand this, we realize that our greatest goal is to learn how to listen to that inner voice that always guides us in the direction of truth sincere. The voice is not that loud, it does not require constant attention, but it is a presence, a soft and steady voice whispers in the silence that reveals your own intuition and connect with a higher power. When we can silence the noise from outside, when we give space to our inner voice, it all becomes. It's as if Despotassi knows for a fact that he was always there, hidden beneath the layers of the doubts, the fears, and the expectations of others. And the reality is, our inner selves, the part of us that has never ceased to exist, even in the most difficult moments. And then, in the wake, all gained a deeper meaning. The obstacles become opportunities for growth, and the losses are found to be lessons learned, and the pain will no longer be punishment, and are now calls for an evolution of the greatest. Life, then, is a journey of self-discovery and constant, in which each step is taken with a conscience, is a celebration of the courage to be authentic. It is the process of reinvent this daily dance acceptance and transformation that just won't die, because our life is endless in possibilities. And then, when we allow ourselves to this day, we have realized that the most important achievement is not an end external to it, but in the us, to become more and more aligned with our truth, what we really are, and that many of the times, you just need to be reminded of. And, in this way auto-exploratorio, we've learned that true freedom lies in the acceptance of who we are, with our faults, our own pros and cons. Because, when you go for all of it, stop being held hostage by an idealized image, and we want to give more light, more love, in and of ourselves. And, well, life is still a constant struggle to be something that we can simply enjoy, with gratitude and authenticity. Every day is an opportunity to reaffirm such a deep connection with the heart, and to listen to the voice that always guides us in, even when everything seems to be messy or difficult. Because, deep down, that this is the greatest truth, that we are beings that have the power to change your reality, just as we remember who we really are. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. When we begin to perceive the invisible force that guides our own choices, we realize that we are all what we are is the result of a dancing silently in between our minds and our hearts, and moves that many times we don't understand right away. But if we can learn to listen to it, it reveals secrets that will change your perception of everything around us. In this connection, the interior is not something external, something that we need to take a look outside, but the essence of what's always been inside of us, waiting to be seen, a war. And it's in this wake-up call that we begin to understand the true magnitude of the power we have to transform, not just the one that happens to us, but who we really are at the heart of it all. When you understand that your emotions are not merely reactions to ebb and flow, but the signs of a deeper truth, we can begin to unravel the mystery that is all around us. Every feeling, every doubt, every hope, to carry the message key, if we can learn to interpret them, we are led on a journey of self-discovery, that is, at the same time, liberating and challenging. Because, a lot of times, we cling to the illusion of control that's out there, in the circumstances, the people, the events, when in fact, the real power lies in our ability to choose how we react, how we think and, just as important, how we position ourselves in the face of all of this. And this is not something we do consciously, only at times ad hoc, but it is a practice of aligning with our core. A decision not to let fear, doubt, or uncertainty in the rule, but with a determination to remain connected with that inner voice that reminds us of who we are. In fact, the voice is subtle, and is often drowned out by the noise of the world, but it is there, waiting for the right moment to make their voices heard as clearly as possible. And when we were able to create such a space for it, our reality starts to turn without the need to make a big effort from outside. Because you are, in essence, it all begins in our ability to align the thoughts, emotions, and thoughts. This understanding leads us to a deeper reflection. To what extent are we truly aware of the impact that our internal decision-making can have on the world around us? An act of gratitude, each and every thought of hope, each and every decision, move forward. Even in the face of difficulties, you must build a bridge invisible that connects us to the universe of possibilities that have always been available to us. And, at the same time, the bridge shows that we are co-creators of our own reality, and that our choices, no matter how simple they may seem, have a power that transcends time and space, and to shape not only our own destiny, but also the impact that we leave on the world. When we begin to see this truth, we realize that true freedom is not the absence of obstacles, but in our ability to navigate through them with courage and confidence. And this courage is born out of the recognition that we are, above all, the beings of light can transform any shade into an opportunity for growth. It's as if, once you understand this connection, you get a whole new perspective, a lens that allows us to see beyond what our physical eyes can see, the possibilities that are hidden in every challenge, the lessons that are hiding behind what seems to be impossible or unfair. And at that point, the day-to-day becomes an adventure of discovery, constance, where each step is taken with authenticity and sensitivity. It is an opportunity to deepen this connection with our true self. Each and every moment of silence for each of conscious breathing is the bridge that brings us to this sacred space, where all is revealed more clearly. Because, in truth, there is nothing outside of us that can define us, but what we choose to believe it to be. And when you make that choice with a conscience, we began to realize that the universe conspires to help those who are in harmony with your very essence, that is, have the courage to face and accept your own truth, even though it is challenging. And it was in this moment that we realized that it is the greatest power we have is our ability to create our reality through our thoughts, emotions, and choices on a daily basis. When we learn to master this internal alchemy, everything around us becomes, the people, the opportunities, and the circumstances surrounding it. And this transformation is, in fact, within us, in our willingness to embrace the truth, no matter how difficult it may be, and to follow the path that is pointing to the same questions they're trying to turn us. The freedom to be who you are, and accepting our own imperfections, we trust in our own intuition. It's a journey that requires courage, yes, but it's also a giving, loving the process of self-discovery, with a commitment to nothing, no crisis, no failure. You may be able to get us out of the way when we are in alignment with our inner selves. So, to understand this dynamic, we can begin to understand that it is the greatest revolution that we do as built-in, a change that, if you allow it to manifest in our thoughts and actions, it reverberates through the rest of our lives, changing the world around us in ways that are not always visible to the eye, but that he felt deep in his heart. Because, deep down, all of which we seek peace, purpose, and happiness is within us, just waiting for us to remember that we are all creators of this reality. And, if you make this connection, we are able to see beyond the veil of your limitations. You should realize that it is all a matter of perspective, of choice, of the courage to be true to who you really are. And then, at that moment, the freedom reveals itself, not as a conquest of the exterior, but as an achievement of the internal, an achievement that transformed everything, all of it, from the inside to the outside. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. As it is, this is a journey of self-discovery is like a ladder that is never-ending, always revealing new steps and new layers of ourselves that are still hiding in the shadows. And, as we are climbing up this ladder, we find that the greatest battle is not against the outside world, but against our own shadows, those parts of you that insist on staying hidden, to stand in the light of our understanding of it. It is as if each and every layer of discovery to bring a sense of relief, of freedom, but also responsibility. After all, to reveal a truth within us, we can no longer deny that we are, and not hide behind excuses or fears. And in the latter, the courage to face what's inside, and that is what truly changes us. It's like a river, that, as obstacles, they learn to work around them, to take its own course, which is stronger, more whole. And this is where it comes to the question of thinking, is that mode of thinking about it, a lot of times, we hold in prison, it is invisible. Because, while we believe that we are victims of our circumstances, that we are defined by our mistakes, the past, or what other people think about us, we are always walking a lever. But, when we decided to change that anchor to a candle, by an inner force that drives us, it changes everything. The change begins in the mind, in the way we interpret reality and our ability to realize that we are the creators of our own universe. And, in the process, we found out that our choices, no matter how simple they may seem, they have a profound impact. Each and every choice we make is like a seed sown in the soil of our soul, and what to plant there will determine what we will reap a harvest in the future. So, the real question isn't whether we can change the world, but if you are willing to change ourselves. Because, when that happens, everything around us becomes. And, at this point, the truth, the hidden is revealed as the light that had always been there, waiting for the right moment to light up our path. This light shows that the power to change is within all of us, and that there is no greater power than the power of one's own heart of our authenticity. And then, when you wake up to the reality that we are to understand that it really limits us is our own mind, which often creates obstacles, where there is, he builds the walls that exist only in our minds. But when you realize this, we are able to break down those walls, with the same ease with which the river finds its way around the stones, which were flowing freely. It is in this movement of self-knowledge, you've found what really matters, our essence, our truth, and our connection to something bigger than themselves. And when we align with this truth, it will all become more clear, lighter in weight, more real. Because, deep down, we are all travelers in this journey of everlasting, seeking to understand who we are and what our purpose is on this bigger stage called life. And in this quest, no matter how challenging it may be, is what gives us the sense that makes us feel alive. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. It's like, when you immerse yourself in the ocean, which is on the inside, discover that there is a never-ending source of power, and of love, and the wisdom is there, just waiting to be revealed to you. This font is in our inner selves, the part of us that has never ceased to exist, even if we believe that all was lost. And then, when you get to it, we realize that the real power is not in the things that you have built up or the opinions of others, but in ourselves, in our capacity to love, to forgive, and to bring about a new reality. And it's a gateway to a life that is more authentic, more in tune with who you really are. It's as if, when you open your eyes to the truth, we begin to see the world with clarity, before the unthinkable, not realizing that it is all a matter of perspective, of your choice. And, at this point, everyone understands that it's the greatest revolution that happens in-house, which each of the decision to be true to itself, it is the seed of transformation, which, in turn, will germinate into something beautiful and long-lasting. So, we come to understand that true freedom is not something that comes out of it, but that comes from within, from a heart silently to face with our own limitations, to accept their fears, and, above all, to have confidence in our ability to start over when needed. It's a process of awakening, to recognize that we are the authors of our own story, and that each day is a new chance to reescribirmos of our chapters, with more love, more authenticity, and more. And, in doing so, we are now experiencing the peace that comes from the achievements of the outside, but a deep emotional connection to what we really are. This is peace. This is a reflection of a soul that has learned to trust in his own way, and that he understood that the greatest secret of life lies in the courage to be who you really are, without the mask, without the mask, without the mask. And in that moment, you realize that all the things that seem so very far away, so impossible, in fact it always has been inside of us, just waiting for the right moment to bloom. Because, in the background, there it is, that we are whole, capable of all the things that we believe to be possible when we allow ourselves to see beyond the limitations that we have created by our own minds. It is a journey full of self-confidence, which, once begun, will never end, because it is the very movement of the soul, seeking for the essence, the purest, most of its light is closer to the truth. And it is in this movement that we find our freedom. We cannot be hostages of our own questions, and we walk with the confidence of who we are and what really matters to you. So, when you think about all of this, it is clear that the greatest change happens when you decide to look into it, with courage, with love, and with the willingness to find out that we are much more than we could ever imagine. Because, at the end of the day, the real journey of change is to go on a journey of self-love, acceptance, and connection with all that is beautiful and true in the us. And that connection is what gives us the strength to move forward with hope and the certainty that anything is possible when you believe in your own light. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. It is a time when we begin to understand that all the things that seem so hard, so very far away, or even impossible, in fact, it is within each of us is a genuine change starts to happen in a quiet, but powerful. In this connection, with ourselves, with our lives, it is to be a beacon that lights the way in the midst of the storm, the doubts and insecurities that we have. It is a discovery that, sometimes, it comes accompanied by a profound silence, moments of reflection. They seem to be simple, but they carry an immense weight of the truth. When we stop to have a look inside, we come to realize that the answers we are searching for are out there, in the acknowledgement, approval, or in terms of material goods, but our own souls, and in our capacity to embrace who you really are, with all our imperfections, vulnerabilities, and our forces are hidden from view. And it is precisely in this process of self-observation, we open up space for a transformation that does not depend on the external conditions, but a change in its internal structure. It's as if, when you connect with the energy of the purest, most authentic, and the world around us, it also began to reflect the light. At this point, it all becomes clearer, lighter in weight, even though there are challenges, and they lose a bit of weight, because the people will have to look beyond what your eyes can capture. We begin to understand that adversity is part of a larger process, a journey of self-discovery. And, as we move forward on this path, we realize that every obstacle is an opportunity in disguise, a chance to get to know each other better, and to become a stronger, and the fact that, deep down, we are that which we ordinarily appear to be. It often comes with a sense of freedom, relief, a lightness that seems to appear out of nowhere, as if a layer of dust is removed from our eyes. And, at the same time, there is pain. It is also necessary, because in order to truly be free of the old patterns, limiting beliefs, we have to face what you are hiding in the back, the things we face, the things that make us feel vulnerable and self-conscious. The pain, however, is a connection to life, a call to look forward to in our shadows, in our deepest wound, and you can turn them into a force. And when you do this, something magical happens. At the core of it shines even brighter, and a new perspective is revealed, more in tune with who we are of the truth. And all of this is a journey of discovery continued in the small everyday victories, which, together, lead us to a state of the most intense authenticity and self-love. It is as if we were waking from a deep sleep, not realizing that life is so much more than the masks that we wear to protect ourselves or please each other. The real freedom comes from within, and to be accepted with all the details, you realize that every experience, good or bad, it is a very important part of our evolution. And, as more and more people to be able to feel, understand, and integrate these parts of ourselves, the closer we get to a just and lasting peace, that inner silence, which is all-encompassing, and it all changed. I now want to go more in depth on this subject. Because of this connection with our true self, it is, in essence, a journey of love, compassion, and the revelation. It's as if, when you immerse yourself in the soul-searching, see which are, in fact, it's a never-ending source of light, which only needs to be turned on, which is recognized and encouraged. And, in the process, we have learned that our greatest assets are the achievements and external, or, in the opinion of others, but in the courage to be true to ourselves, to love ourselves without conditions. It is a freedom no one can take it away, the fact that no one can take it away, because she was born there, in our very essence, the most pure. And when you realize it, your life will have a different taste, a deeper, more human, more real. And it is precisely in this connection, this is to awaken to our own light, that gives us the strength to move forward, even when everything seems to fall apart, because at the end of the day, it is all a matter of finding out what is the greatest power that is already within us, just waiting for us to open up your eyes and allow it to flourish. And so, in the stillness of that self-awareness, we can begin to understand that true change happens when we stop seeking out, and we went back inside, listening carefully to what our heart has to say to us. And, in doing so, we realize that our entire history, with its aches and pains and joys, it is a story of growth, of strength, of love, which had never ceased to exist, even in the blackest moments. And it's this love that is born from within, and is the core of the purest, most of our strength, of our deepest truth. When we deliver to you at this time, the world around us, it also turns out, is because we look beyond the surface, in addition to a number of limitations, and you begin to realize that we are part of something bigger than themselves, a universal energy that surrounds us, welcomes us, and pushes us to move forward. At that moment, it all makes sense, everything makes sense to you, because we finally understood that the greatest journey is the one that's going on inside of us. And when we understand this, we can begin to walk more lightly on the planet, with more hope and more love. Because, deep down, all of what we are looking for have always been here, just waiting for people to be allowed to find out. And when this realization finally sets in, it's as if a heavy curtain was slowly lifted up, revealing a vast space, and quiet within, where there was confusion, self-doubt, and a quiet, almost desperate. At this point, we realize that we all seek out to us. It was, in fact, an attempt to fill in gaps that could be filled by something that was already there, hidden in the deepest core of our being. And it's not something that happens all of a sudden, it's like a seed that germinates slowly, growing up in a silent, powered by small attitudes, self-understanding, for the choices that challenge our own limits, for the courage to be silently to face our shadows and embrace our imperfections. It is a process of listening, patience, to learn how to listen to the voice that is silent, the one who often gets hidden by the noise of the world, and on the opinions of others, in the expectation that you have created or that have been imposed upon. When we can silence all of this, we can begin to understand that what we are looking for outside is a projection of something that is, in fact, it is already there within ourselves, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself, like a flower that blooms in the spring, the radiant and full of life. And that understanding brings a lightness to the unexpected, because it frees us from the weight of trying to be something we have to live in a routine. They don't resonate with who we really are. We understand that freedom is the acceptance, authenticity, and the courage to be vulnerable in front of you, without fear of finding out what the core is, the stronger, more real, than any of the masks that we have used so far. In the process, our decision-making, they begin to align with this new understanding, and each becomes an expression of authenticity, and the reassurance that we are on the right path, even if it still seems full of obstacles, or have any questions. It's like taking a walk along a path that, while it is full of stones, and it leads us to a secret garden, where there is peace, self-love, and it's a much deeper connection with all that is going on around us. And in that moment, you realize that all the things that we are looking for, in truth, He was always at our fingertips, just waiting for the permission to thrive, to develop to its fullest. In this journey of inner transformation to be silent, it starts in the mind, but it quickly spread through the heart, giving rise to a new way of looking at the world, to connect with yourself and with others. Each step along the way, it is an opportunity to reclaim our true nature, to leave the skins on the trap, and embrace the freedom of being a whole, as imperfect human beings. And it is at this point, it is clear that the greatest power lies in our ability to make our own story, to rewrite the story that we tell to ourselves every day. When the truth becomes clear, it is difficult to get it back, because it beats strongly within each cell, such as a constant reminder of what the real change happens from the inside to the outside, and that the universe conspires to help those who dare to look in the mirror and sincerely, and with love and determination to become the best version of. And, even though the way may seem uncertain, there is a renewed hope, a feeling that by the end of the journey, internal it, everything that really counts to be revealed with a beauty that is indescribable, a deep connection with what is eternal and true. I now want to go more in depth on this subject and this connection. The interior is, in fact, a bridge, a silent, which leads to the discovery that the universe is, at its core, it's an extension of who we are as a projection of our own souls. When we have learned to listen to that inner voice, it will guide us through the paths, invisible many times. We could only realize it when we mute the noise on the outside. It's as if, when you get in touch with the reality of this fact, we begin to see beyond the limitations of the material world, not realizing that it is all a matter of perspective, in line with our own selves. And then it all starts to make sense of the difficulties, the obstacles, the losses, because they understand that they, too, are a part of the evolutionary process of spiritual growth. Every challenge is an opportunity to strengthen and reaffirm our faith in our own ability to overcome them. At this moment, and the life, no longer to be a series of random events, and it becomes a journey of discovery, of learning, that lead us to a deeper understanding of who you really are. And then, when we look within, we realize that the eternal quest for something beyond ourselves, it is, in fact, a call for the connection and true love, by a sense of oneness with everything that exists. In this connection, the invisible, which is often called intuition, our inner strength, or spirit, is the one that keeps us all stand firm, even in the storms, more frequent and more intense. It reminds us that we are more than our fears, our doubts, or our shortcomings. We are a spark of light that never goes out, even in the darkness, the more in depth. And then, how much more will we allow ourselves to dive into this ocean of self-awareness, the more clear it becomes that we are a part of a whole, and is a fundamental part of the universe, is pulsating, vibrating, expanding all the time. Then you realize that truth is an act of courage, self-love, of God. Because, when you have to accept that the greatest journey is the one that's going on inside of us, we opened up the space, so that all around you are also transformed. And in this transformation process, it all takes on a new meaning, a new color, a new lease of life. And this is the life, this is the soul that lives and breathes in each and every one of us, is the one that really makes us understand that the way to peace, to love, to freedom, it was always there, in the simplicity of being who you really are, without the mask, without the mask, without the mask. Now, I want you to go even deeper on this topic. As it is, this never-ending quest for something more, for a more in-depth understanding of who we are, in fact, it often leads to a crossing of the pathways that appear to be merging into a complexity that is almost invisible. And in that moment of silence, before, when we were able to listen to that inner voice that I almost never pay attention, we realize that all the things that we are looking out for validation, approval, to the realization of the material, in fact, it was never enough to fill the void that keeps coming to join us. It is as if each of the conquest of outer to be an attempt to hide the wound that, in essence, just wants to be seen, accepted, and often cured. When we open our eyes to this reality, and everything seems to be becoming, because we are to understand that the real power is not in the things that you accumulate, but in our ability to reconnect with our inner selves, with that part of us that has never ceased to exist, even when we are lost in the distractions of the world. And then, there is a question that a lot of times it is hidden in the shadows of our unconscious will. Who am I apart from my own face masks? Because you are, in fact, the more freedom we feel is the freedom to be who we really are, without fear, without shame, and without the need to please or to fit into a mold that has been imposed on it. This is freedom. This is like a light that lingers in every dark corner of our being, to reveal the beauty of our vulnerability and the strength of our authenticity, and the courage to face the things that you always avoid, our own shadow. And, to the extent that we are removing these false identities in the face of a really simple but powerful, we are in a constant state of evolution, and it's constantly found, and that the journey to self-knowledge, this is the one that really gives us that sense. It gives us a purpose and, above all, connects us with our essence, the most pure. All of this is, in essence, it is a matter of courage. Because sometimes the greatest strength is within ourselves. The resistance to accept the fact that we are imperfect, and resistance to accept the fact that we feel fear, pain, and insecurity. But, in fact, that it is an illusion that keeps us stuck on the idea of craftsmanship, which has never existed before. When you realize that perfection lies in our imperfection, it changes everything. We understand that the beauty of life lies in the authenticity of the way, at the scars that we carry on the lessons learned that each of the fall has brought us. And then, to accept ourselves as we are, we can begin to see the world in a different way, because we seek validation outside, and we validate it on the inside. It's like a silent revolution that is happening in the heart of it, a transformation that begins with the courage to look at you with honesty, to forgive and to love each other. And, in the process, gains a new dimension. Time seems to slow down, because you have learned to cherish each and every moment, every feeling, every thought. Feel the pulse of life in every breath, every beat of the heart, with a deep connection to what truly matters. It's like, to be free from the bonds of your ego, feel lighter, more present, more conscious of the fact that we are of the truth. It is an expression of a unique in the universe. And that understanding makes us realize that even in our weakness, we are full, because its true strength is born out of vulnerability, and the courage to show it without face masks. And so, we begin to understand that the greatest power is not to take the world out there, but to dominate our world, the interior, and in turn our pain into wisdom, and the limits in the class. I now want to go more in depth on this subject, because, if we are to understand that this is a journey of self-discovery is the key to unlock it in order to live more fully, we also need to accept that it is not linear or easy. Is there a way for the highs and lows, discoveries and losses? But, along the way, we discovered something that a lot of the times it is hidden away in the rush of daily life, that true freedom lies in the acceptance of ourselves, in the peace of knowing that we are exactly what you need to be in order to evolve. And this peace will only come when we stop seeking validation from outside, when we learn to trust our own intuition, our heart, and our deepest truth. It is a process of detachment, of freedom from all the things that limit us, that holds us to a story that no longer serves us. When you can't do that cleaning the inside, everything lines up, everything makes sense, and we understand that life does not have to be a constant struggle to be happy. It is the dance of the gentle, delivery, love the flow of the universe, in which we learn to trust that everything is exactly in its place, at the right time. And, on this understanding, there is a sense of relief, to a certainty, that no matter what happens out there, your peace within remains intact, because it doesn't depend on external circumstances, but by our ability to keep us connected to our spirit. And that connection is what gives us the strength to carry on, even in the face of the storm. As we know, we are more than our fears, our doubts, and our own limitations. We are a spark of the divine, and a unique expression of the Creator, and that realization changes everything, frees us from the need for control, perfectionism, judgment, and He invites us to live in light, with gratitude, with love. It is in a state of grace that we realize that the real power is not in domination of it, but to deliver, with the confidence that everything is happening exactly as it should be, at the right time, at the perfect time. And then, at the end of it all, we realize that this is a journey of self-discovery that is not the only one searching for answers, but it is a continuous discovery of who we truly are, out of all the things that we hold inside of us, waiting to be discovered. Leave in the comments, I came to realize the truth. If you've come this far, it's because that's the message He spoke to you in some way. Few people have been able to get to the end of the video as well, And if you're here, it's because something is within that you have connected with such a discussion. He comments that I'm with you till the end of it. This is a connection that is created at that time, is something that is worth the value. I don't know why you were down here with me. If this story has touched your heart, and you take the chance to subscribe to the channel so we can move forward together on this journey of discovery and learning, delving deeper into the journey of self-discovery that is as personal and unique to each and every one of us. And, of course, if that kind of content makes you think differently, it will leave your like, because it shows that the message had reached those who needed to hear it. Your simple gesture will help to strengthen the point of our story, so that more people can also open yourself up to look more and more conscious about themselves. If you like it, don't hesitate to share your thoughts in the comments. He writes in, I've been up to in the end because it made sense to me. Thus, we can exchange experience and strengthen the connection that you have created here. And remember, this journey is yours. Every step you take, every discovery, every insight is a part of growing up. So, stay with me, because it is here, on the side that connects to all of it, is still with me over there. You don't have to hear for the next video to complement our conversation, and brings you even more items for you to reflect on and change their daily routine. In the end, the journey continues. The more important it is that you're not alone in this search for a sense of meaning and peace of mind. This journey has brought me this far, and I am confident that, together, we can go much further.